You're separating because the relationship no longer works, but you're devastated because you don't want your kids to grow up in a broken family. I'm Ronald and I'm a relationship and family therapist, and we're here to talk about supporting your child through separation. So you've made a decision to separate and you're worried about how this might affect the kids. A whole family doesn't mean a healthy family. The truth is, children will adjust to the separation. But what they don't adjust to is ongoing unresolved conflict. And parents sometimes unintentionally put their children in the middle. And it can happen in small and subtle ways. And we're here to talk about some of those areas. Here are the areas of caution. Talking about separation. Parents often just assume that their children know, or say that they've been told once. Children need what's called a separation story. That is a story about why mom and dad decided to separate. And this story needs to be clear, consistent, neutral, and non-blaming, tailored for their age. And children often need to hear it more than just once. An example of a separation story is mom and dad couldn't get along. We just had too many adult issues which we couldn't resolve even though we tried. So we decided that we might be happier if we lived in two separate homes. And that doesn't mean we don't love you. We are still a family. If you don't give children a simple, clear, age-appropriate separation story, then they can begin to make things up in their own imagination. Or even worse, they can begin to blame themselves. Exposing children to conflict. This can look like getting into fights in front of the kids, particularly at changeover, school functions, or over the phone. When children are exposed to parental conflict, they can start to feel a loyalty bind. Children can start to feel like the parents are fighting over them, and they resort to choosing one side in order to end the fighting and end the anxiety that they feel being stuck and caught in the middle. Children need to be protected from conflict. And children need what we call true permission. True permission is the permission for your child to have a loving, meaningful relationship with the other parent. Put downs. This comes in the form of speaking poorly about the other parent, expressing negative or unfavorable views of the other parent in front of the children. And it can impact a child's sense of self. Children often describe themselves as half one parent and half the other. And so when they hear that one parent is speaking badly of the other, that bad thing makes it true about themselves. Because after all, they are half and half. So children, they can begin to internalize this negative view. And it can feel like an attack on themselves. So this often results in children acting out or shutting down and withdrawing from their parents. So parents need to resist the urge for put downs for the sake of the children. Carrying messages. This is where parents have their children pass messages to the other parent on their behalf. And so it tends to happen when one parent wants to let the other parent know something, and they use their child in order to try to avoid conflict. And this can be especially tempting when the last person you want to speak to is your ex-partner. But the truth is, it's like asking your child to fight the war for you. Not only do they have to carry the message, but they also have to face the reaction of the other parent. And it's the kids who get hurt in this battle. It places children in a lose-lose situation. Children have to worry about how to say one thing without hurting the other. And they have to take on the worry about the message, which is often about an adult issue, money or court. It's often asking children to deliver demands or threats to the other parent. Adult issues need to be resolved at an adult level. Quizzing kids. This is where parents ask children questions about their time with the other parent. And it can become an interrogation. It becomes this way when one parent starts to ask questions just to find out a bit more information about the other parent. But what happens in the end is that your child feels neglected. Quizzing kids can be a way to spy on the other parent. It's asking your child to betray their trust with the other parent. Check your intention. Be mindful of where your questions are coming from. Are they coming from an ex-partner, or are they coming from a co-parent? We should look to ask child-focused questions which demonstrate our interest in our children and our relationship, rather than it being about the other parent. Half listening. This happens when children say something about the other parent, and instead of listening, you only pick up on your own frustration about what they've said. And this is listening as an ex-partner, rather than focusing on the parent-child relationship. What? They brought you to McDonald's again? Rather than perhaps focusing on the happiness of your child. Time apart. Now this can be a tricky one and something that a lot of parents very innocently fall into. But trying to avoid saying, I will miss you. Children have a lot to worry about already, and they don't need to be made to feel guilty when they're leaving you to see the other parent, or made to feel responsible for your emotional well-being. Children can get trained into focusing on their parents' emotional distress, rather than focusing on their own needs. And they can start to feel like they don't have real permission to love the other parent. And so they don't want to leave the other parent, as they feel like they're betraying them. Children need to be reassured, and they need true permission to have loving, meaningful relationships with both parents. Offloading feelings. This is where parents show their true feelings about how they feel about the other parent in front of the child. And it puts them in the middle of both parents. It makes them feel emotionally responsible for the parent, and children can begin to internalize the negative views. If you are feeling the need to offload, then it might be worth looking at external supports for yourself. Perhaps family, friend, or a counselor. Hot topics where emotions can run high. Birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, differences in parenting, new partners, or extended family. Understandably, these topics can be hard to resolve. But maintaining the wall only hurts your children. Making family life work post-separation is about holding up your half of the bridge so that your children can cross safely. We need to be child-focused and future-focused. It's important to focus on yourself as a parent. You can't control or influence what the other parent will do, but you can focus on being the best parent that you can be and focusing on what you can change. Studies show that if children can have at least one supportive adult in their life, then this has significant impact on their future development and growth.